Monday, November 9th, advanced class. We're going to get into a story called The Landlady. And I'm assuming some of you guys are watching this at home because we have roughly half a dozen dead kids today. Hello, dead kids. So we go through and help you out. Report book, good to go, good to go. That one. Download the new story called Landlady Part 1. You're welcome to download Part 2, but you'll realize Part 2 is the exact same as Part 1 because I've not uploaded Part 2 yet. It's in 2 parts because that way we can not have you read ahead and try to figure out the ending of it first because that would make you horrible people. Then, on your notes, we're going to go through and it's on this thing, which is also on notability. We're going to go through and fill in 2 parts. 1, irony.
Mr. Brovicast, we've already done irony.
I know, but it was back during poetry, and I wanted to give you an official place to have it written down to make your life a little bit easier in case you wouldn't remember. Speaking of which, do you remember what irony is?
Yeah.
Levi?
I can always name an example, but I don't know the definition.
Do you accept that I'm looking for a definition and not an example? How ironic. It's not. Hess?
Like where there's something and then I can't.
Nailed it so far.
Yeah.
On fire. Michael?
It's when something does the opposite of what you expect it to do.
There you go. When what happens is the opposite of the expected. So irony is when what happens is going to be the opposite of the thing that you're expecting to have happen. And we'll have a story coming up here that'll have some irony to it, so I figured it'd be a good thing to get back into irony to try and help you out. Excuse me. So when you have the opposite of the thing you're expecting to have happen. The other one we're going to take a look at is foreshadowing, which hopefully you've seen somewhat. But our story today is going to use foreshadowing quite a bit. Do you remember when we read The Lady and the Tiger? Mm-hmm. Good. Do you remember how The Lady and the Tiger ended?
Yeah.
Remember that feeling it gave you?
Yeah.
Remember I told you we weren't ever going to read a story like that again?
You lie.
Yeah.
Our story that we're going to get to today, called The Landlady, is just going to stop in the middle of a conversation between the 2 characters, and we're talking back and forth, and then it just, and you're going to have that feeling.
Mr. Brovicast, you lied to us.
Ha ha, I did not. Because through the magic of this thing called foreshadowing, we figure out exactly what happens in the story. If you don't use foreshadowing, then yes, you come across doing it the dumb version, going,
That don't make no sense.
but using foreshadowing, you're like,
Oh, wait, is this what happened?
I go, uh-huh, and you go,
Really?
I go, and you go, ah, and I go, yeah. And so we're going to use the magic of foreshadowing to help you out.
Mr. Brovicast, that's wonderful. What's foreshadowing?
Good question. So let's come back and figure out foreshadowing. Lindenmeyer?
Hinting at future events.
Works for me. There's specifically one word I'm looking for in the definition of foreshadowing. Do you know the one word? He didn't say it. He hinted around it but didn't quite hit it. Ella?
A clue?
That's the word I'm looking for. So it's going to be clues that hint towards the ending. And so foreshadowing are going to be little clues in the story that are going to get you pointed in the right direction. This story is chock full of them. If this story were a chocolate chip cookie and foreshadowing were chocolate chips, you would go,
Mr. Brovicast, there's too much chocolate in this cookie. I can't finish it.
and so that was an example of a metaphor, by the way.
That was a weird one.
Nailed it.
That was a weird one.
So hopefully that helps you out a wee bit. Then, once you've done the foreshadowing, then you can put the note of the whole thing away, and we're going to get into the actual story bits. To prevent you from attempting to read more of the story and go further, I chopped off the end of the story, so don't even bother. That's when it's going to be on part 2, and we won't get till part 2 tomorrow. So if you try to read ahead, you'll be out of luck. Not that you would. But we're also going to say, hello, he's alive. Hello, another person's alive. Is that paper? You just put the paper on my desk in the middle, and then plop. There you go. And then put that on my desk. The thing in your hand. Yes. And then you have a reading log. You can plop that on my desk, and then you can grab the green reading log. Yay! And then we're starting a new story we're getting into here in just a moment. All right. Back to you guys. Let's see if we have that. Oh, suspense. Not on there, but it's one of the things you guys should know, but I had faith in you guys knowing this one. Do you guys know what suspense is?
Yeah.
Do. Good. Bailey, what's suspense?
Like when you know something big is gonna happen.
Yes.
And like they keep putting like a bunch of things to make you have to wait for it.
Nice.
But you know it's coming.
Which part of the mountain where we find the most suspense? Doyle.
Rising action.
Nicely. Rising action, which is like the resolution, but different. And so it's the part where it builds up throughout it, and you have that on the edge of your seat kind of thing. This story does a good job with suspense, because as you start picking up the foreshadowing clues, you go, Mr. Brovicast, something's bothering me. But you can't quite put your finger on it. That's what we'll get into. All right. With our story, the landlady. This is going to start off with the main character wearing a brown trilby hat. And so I figured I'd show you guys a picture of a brown trilby hat because I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up, so I figured I'd pass along that knowledge to you. Alright. Once again, I can have myself read, or you guys are welcome to read. I'm happy either way. I just don't know how often you guys get tired of my voice. But as I go through and do it, and then if you want to take over at some point, just let me know. The landlady. Billy Weaver had traveled down from London on the slow afternoon train with a change at Reading on the way, and by the time he got to Bath, it was about 9 o'clock in the evening, and the moon was coming up out of a clear, starry sky over the houses opposite the station entrance. But the air was deadly cold, and the wind was like a flat blade of ice on his cheeks. "Excuse me," he said, "but is there a fairly cheap hotel not too far away from here?" "I'll try the Bell and Dragon," the porter answered, pointing down the road. "They might take you in. It's about a quarter of a mile long on the other side." Billy thanked him, picked up his suitcase, and set out to walk the quarter mile to the Bell and Dragon. He had never been to Bath before. He didn't know anyone who lived there. But Mr. Greenslade at the head office in London had told him it was a splendid city. "Find your own lodgings," he said, "and then go along and report to the branch manager as soon as you've got yourself settled." Quick pause. We have a character. Don't know if he's the main one yet, but he's at least a character. And who's our one character, Birdie?
Billy.
Billy. And then Todd. Where's our story taking place? Hang on. We can figure out the country through the context clues. Because it talks about a city that you should know. Yes. That'd be the one. I'm stopping. Now I'm starting up again. Rodrigo?
London.
London!
Oh, that says it right there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Never mind.
In front of you. It was tricky. And so what country is it taking place in, Todd?
I don't know what London is.
Oh, this is a little fresh. Everyone. Rodrigo!
England.
Nice one. England.